It's the 4th of December 2024. This is a brand new edition of Newsfirst's Primetime News, coming to you live and direct from our Newsfirst studios here in Colombo. Bringing you the bulletin tonight for the Newsfirst team. I am Jaimal Ratnayaka.
And I'm Rochelle Thamodara. Let's start off with a look at your headlines for tonight.
Newsfirst Headlines. Main sponsor.
A trusted place for your fixed deposit. Valuable FD, a symbol of stability.
South Korean President Yoon Suk-yeol withdraws martial law amid severe public backlash. Opposition parties submit bill calling for president's impeachment. Will not allow racism to rear its head in the country once more. An assurance from the Minister of Public Security.
මේ රටේ තියෙන නීති ප්‍රමාණවත් නොවේ නම් අලුත් නීති හරි ගෙනවිලා මේ ජාතිවාදයේ මැඩපවත්ලා කටයුතු කරන බව මේ ගරු සභාවට පචින්දා දෙමින් මා අවසන් කරනවා.
Freedom of speech and expression has not been curtailed, but will not allow racism to prevail. Justice Minister states in Parliament. Am I unsuitable for the SJB national list? Hirunika questions. Nominate Kanchana to vacant national list seat. Defectors of the SLPP urge the NDF. All share price index of the Colombo Stock Exchange records all-time high.
Newsfirst Headlines. Main sponsor.
A trusted place for your fixed deposit. Valuable FD, a symbol of stability.
Opposition parties filed an impeachment bill against South Korea's President Yoon Suk-yeol following his surprise martial law declaration yesterday. The bill, backed by 6 opposition parties, is expected to be voted by on Friday or Saturday.
However, South Korea's Minister of National Defense Kim Yon-hyung offered his resignation today, accepting full responsibility for advising Yoon to impose martial law.
South Korea's President Yoon Suk-yeol had declared martial law in a surprise late-night address yesterday, reviving memories of a more painful authoritarian past as troops attempted to enter the main hall of the National Assembly and people against the measure gathered outside. Following his announcement, the president accused the main opposition party of sympathizing with North Korea and of anti-state activities, citing a motion by the opposition Democratic Party, which has a majority in parliament, to impeach top prosecutors and reject a government budget proposal. The initial martial law announcement sent shockwaves throughout the country. According to foreign media, people were told by law enforcement that they could be arrested without warrants being needed under martial law. South Korean President Yoon Suk-yeol today said he would lift the surprise martial law declaration he had imposed just hours before, backing down in a standoff with Parliament, which roundly rejected his attempt to ban political activity and censor the media. Yoon's surprise declaration of martial law was voted down by 190 lawmakers in Parliament. His own party urged him to lift the decree. Under South Korean law, the president must immediately lift martial law if Parliament demands it by a majority vote. South Korean lawmakers submitted a bill today to impeach President Yoon Suk-yeol after he declared martial law and reversed the move hours later. The main opposition Democratic Party called for Yoon, who had been in office since 2022, to resign or face impeachment. 6 South Korean opposition parties later submitted a bill in Parliament to impeach Yoon, with voting set for Friday or Saturday. Minister of National Defense Kim Yon-hyung offered to step down shortly after the Democratic Party of Korea Media filed an impeachment bill against him over his role in President Yoon Suk-yeol declaring martial law a day prior. Foreign media reported that the South Korean defense minister said he accepts full responsibility for all events related to yesterday's martial law declaration and that he told the president he intended to resign. Kim said all members of the country's armed forces who were mobilized while the martial law was in effect were acting under his direction and that he alone was solely responsible for all that happened. The Ministry of National Defense also confirmed that Kim advised Yoon to impose martial law, which was opposed by all other members of the cabinet, including the Prime Minister. The Democratic Party has asked the Defense Minister to appear for questioning at the meeting of the Assembly Defense Committee slated for Thursday.
On to news from here at home. Minister of Public Security and Parliamentary Affairs Ananta Vijaypala said that the government will not allow any opportunity for racism to resurface in the country. In a special statement made in Parliament today, the minister assured that if the existing laws are inadequate, new laws will be introduced to effectively curb racism.
මේ සභාවට ප්‍රකාශ කරන්න කැමති අප ලද ජනවර්මයේ හරය ජාතිවාදයට එරෙහිවීමේ මූලිකවම
The core of our mandate is rooted in values with no room for racism. Recently, there has been discussion surrounding the Mahaviru commemorations. Our position on this matter is that we respect everyone's right to commemorate the death of a close relative, whether they are from the north or south. However, it is important to note that there is no room for holding commemorations that involve the display of flags, logos or symbols associated with the LTTE, as it is a proscribed organization. A recent statement I made in Galgamua was misinterpreted by a newspaper, and I have filed a complaint with the CID, which I believe has initiated an investigation. The police have reported that 244 commemorative ceremonies were held in the north, with 10 of them displaying LTTE symbols. Accordingly, the Kilinochchi Magistrates Court has received 2 cases, while the Point Pedro Magistrates Court has reported 4 incidents and 1 case has been filed with the Jaffna Magistrates Court. Investigations into these incidents are ongoing. These fake news has been created by a group to incite disharmony by portraying that these events were held in the north. However, the circulated images do not show events in the north, but rather in other countries or from different years. These images are being used to falsely portray that LTTE-related ceremonies are taking place in the north since Anuраkumara Dissanayake took office. We have observed that these actions were carried out by a politically discredited organized group. Following our investigation, several individuals have been arrested in connection with these events. Among those arrested is 1 person from the north, as well as individuals from Baddegama, Maradana and Borlasgama. The person from Borlasgama is a political activist who had previously campaigned for the gas cylinder in the last election. 2 of the suspects arrested are linked to the gas cylinder, with 1 of them having contested in the recent election. It has also been identified that several individuals with political connections are involved in these incidents. As a movement, we are committed to upholding the freedom of speech and expression as guaranteed through the Constitution. However, we acknowledge that this freedom is not without limits, as the Constitution imposes restrictions to protect the public good. We firmly believe that there is no place for using this freedom to incite racism. Such actions pose a serious threat to the unity of our nation. However, false videos and news about President Anuраkumara Dissanayake and myself as the Minister of Public Security are circulating on social media. We will not be affected by this, and we will not allow racism to spread in our country. If existing laws are insufficient, we will propose new ones. As the Minister of Public Security, I pledge to take strong action to combat racism.
මෙඩපවත්ලා මහජන ආරක්ෂා අමාත්‍යාංශයේ හැටියට අපි කටයුතු කරන බව මේ ගරු සභාවට පචින්දා දෙමින් මා අවසන් කරනවා. බොහොමත්ම ස්තුතියි.
Colombo Chief Magistrate Tilina Gamage today granted bail to social media activist Kalum Jayasumana, who had been remanded for allegedly spreading false information about Martyr Day commemorations in the north. Kalum Jayasumana was a candidate of the New Democratic Front and contested the last general election from Kurunegala. During the hearing, CID officers found that the suspect had downloaded and reposted an image containing symbols of the proscribed LTTE organization that was originally posted by a woman in France. The investigating officers also stated in courts that this has disrupted public peace and inter-ethnic harmony despite no such commemoration taking place in the north. The CID requested the court to extend the suspect's remand, citing incomplete investigations. However, the magistrate questioned whether any evidence had been submitted confirming a public disturbance caused by the suspect's actions. The CID admitted that no such statements had been recorded or presented to the court. The magistrate reprimanded the CID for seeking remand without sufficient evidence of public unrest and stated that suspects could not be detained without justification. Accordingly, the magistrate ordered the suspect's release on 2 sureties. The case is scheduled to be taken up on the 3rd of April.
During the debate on the President's policy statement in Parliament, attention was also directed to freedom of speech and expression, Prevention of Terrorism Act and racism.
Yes, we acknowledge that the Prevention of Terrorism Act needs to be repealed. However, when we look globally, even developed countries have legal frameworks to address international terrorism. What we need to do is create a new Prevention of Terrorism Act that aligns with international statutes. Until such a law is enacted, we must continue to rely on the existing legal provisions in this country, even as we confront challenges like racism. While we fully support freedom of speech and are committed to upholding it, we also recognize that freedom of speech and committing a crime is closely linked. Yes, we may be new to governance, but we are not new to politics. Challenge us ideologically, oppose us politically, none of that is a problem. We will resolve such matters democratically through political means. The next most crucial issue is the rule of law. It is not just about hearing cases, it's about ensuring justice is served. Despite prolonged discussions on this, there has been no meaningful progress. The reason is that the law was manipulated to serve personal interests rather than implementing it for the benefit of the people. Will an investor be willing to invest if they cannot rely on the courts or the police for justice? How can we build trust in investors if we fail to hold corrupt individuals accountable for fraud?
ආයෝජකයාගේ විශ්වාසය ගොඩනගන්නේ කොහොමද? ආර්ථිකය ගොඩනගන්නේ කොහොමද? වංචනිකයන් දූෂිතයන් අපි ඇල්ලුවේ නැත්තම්. සෑම කෙනෙකුටම
Everyone has the right to commemorate the deaths of their loved ones. However, it is important to remember that the law in the north of Sivajilingam is not the same as the law applied to those who opposed it in the south. The cases filed are subject to one set of laws in the north and a different set in the south.
The police are responsible for filing cases, and we have ensured that the Sri Lanka police can operate freely and independently. It is the police who decide under which acts to proceed with prosecutions based on their investigations. This is the role of the police, not the minister's responsibility.
In this regard, the Attorney General should be consulted before filing any cases. Cases are filed under the Penal Code of the North, while in the South they are filed under the Terrorism Act. What is the reason for this?
As a lawyer, you know that only a limited number of cases are forwarded to the Attorney General. The police should seek advice when necessary, but they typically do so only when they are unsure or confused. Therefore, I cannot instruct the police or anyone else to consult the Attorney General or not. I made an inquiry about this to the Inspector General of Police just a moment ago. He clarified that the matter in the north was reported under the Prevention of Terrorism Act, not under 2 different laws. Therefore, Dayasiri's statement suggesting there is one law for the north and another for the south only serves to incite racism once again. You asked a question and the minister responded with the facts responsibly. That is all. This debate will not be concluded today, Honourable Speaker. Parliamentarian Dayasiri, do you believe you have special privileges? Do not expect that. You made a racist statement and lied without understanding the standing orders of Parliament. Therefore, we respectfully request the Speaker not to allow such behaviour. This member of parliament claimed that the police use one law for the north and another for the south. However, the Inspector General of Police has confirmed that this is false. Therefore, it constitutes a racist statement. If such a statement is to be retracted, the person who made it must retract it first. What is said in Parliament can be reported in any newspaper, and it is not something to be taken lightly. If a personal charge is made against us, we can address it. But this is not a personal issue. It was explicitly stated that there is one law for the North and another for the South, which is a racist claim. Isn't it racism?
For the past few days, there has been much talk about racism. The Good Governance government came to power by addressing the same issue. Back then, they also spoke about racism, but ultimately it led to discussions on terrorism. None of us support racism. There are diverse opinions within political parties, but there is no space for racist politics in our country. I respectfully urge you to ensure that, in the effort to end racism, terrorism does not resurface.
Some corrupt individuals are now teaching us how to govern without corruption. Very well. Thank you. Teams that worked inefficiently are now teaching us how to govern efficiently. Thank you very much. Those who gained power by fueling racism and maintained it through racial divisions are now teaching us how to govern without racism. Thank you very much. We would like to remind you that 159 members of Parliament were given to the National People's Power in a historic moment. Although some issues have been raised, there are also others that remain unaddressed. The people are waiting for the corrupt to be held accountable. The people are also waiting for the privileges of the old members to be slashed. We would like to remind you that the next year will start with those. Minister of Justice and National Integration, Attorney Harshana Nanakara, announced the presentation of 3 significant bills to Parliament.
Proceeds of Crime Bill, Rescue and Rehabilitation and Insolvency Bill, amendments to the Audit Act. These 3 legislations in the form of bills will be presented to Parliament. The whole idea of this is to recover stolen assets, trace proceeds of crime with one law, and to effectively deter money laundering, drug trafficking and all related vices. The Audit Act and the Insolvency Act, they are to improve creditors' confidence and to protect the debtors' rights, to bring some uniformity and update. So this government is serious what he said about.
The proposal related to the government's policy statement presented by President Andrukumara Dissanayake was unanimously passed in Parliament this evening. The proposal was unanimously passed without a vote following a 2-day debate. The policy statement was delivered during the inaugural session of the 10th Parliament of Sri Lanka.
The Ministry of Defence has announced a new policy regarding the issuance of firearms, limiting individuals to 1 firearm per person. This decision follows a series of investigations into firearms issued to civilians. According to the Ministry of Defence, if a person requests more than 1 firearm, a security analysis will be conducted. Based on the results of this analysis, a decision will be made about whether to approve additional firearms. The ministry emphasized that these security analyses are carried out by the State Intelligence Service. If the analysis reveals no credible life threat, steps will be taken to reclaim firearms from them. Currently, the ministry is conducting investigations into firearms issued to civilians at its premises. As of now, 1,550 firearms have been issued to civilians for protection.
The Sirasa Shakti Sahana Yatra was launched to support those affected by recent extreme weather conditions in Sri Lanka. Today, 4 teams worked tirelessly across the northern and eastern provinces, distributing essential supplies to communities in need.
The Sirasa Shakti Sahana Yatra team, carrying dry rations and other vital goods, began their journey from Colombo last morning and reached the districts of Mannar, Batticaloa, Mullaitivu and Ampara. The mission continued today, providing aid to those suffering from floods and weather-related issues. The teams travelled to the most affected areas of Batticaloa, including Mullaitivu, Katankuri, Kalamanchikuri and Sitandi. Assistance was distributed to several areas in the Mana district. This afternoon, the relief efforts extended to the Ampara district, where the people in Kalmune, Pottuvel and Ninthavur received aid.
News First with the people.
Is Sri Lanka facing a rice crisis? Newsfirst brings you a comprehensive report on the situation tonight. Let's take a look.
As the festive season kicks off, talks are swirling about a rice shortage and rising prices in the market.
What is this issue?
The government's control prices for rice are still in place. Nadu rice is sold at 220 rupees per kilogram, Samba rice at 230 rupees per kilogram, and Kiri Samba at 260 rupees per kilogram.
Is rice available at these prices?
These are today's data from the Hector Kobakadu Agrarian Research and Training Institute. The wholesale price of Nadu rice in Peta was 235 rupees, while the retail price was 240 rupees. The wholesale price of Samba rice was 238 rupees, and the retail price was 240 rupees.
තාම ඕඩර් නම් දෙන්නේ නැහැ. මේ ගෙනලා අපිට විකරන්න බෑ. 255 කියන මෝල් වලින් අපිට ගන්න. ද හෝල්සේල් අපි 255ට අරගෙන අපි 55 60ට විකුණන්න ඕනේ. 60ට විකුණලා සිල්ලර කඩකාරයා කොහමද විකුණන්නේ? පාලන මිලට එම හාල් මොකුත්ම නැහැ.
Nadu rice was unavailable at the Narayanpeta Economic Centre today. Some shops sold white kiwi raw at 275 rupees, Poni Samba at 295 rupees and white Samba raw at 260 rupees. Some shops sold white Samba raw at 240 rupees and red Kiri Samba at 300 rupees. At the Kandy Municipal Central Market, the wholesale price of Nadu rice was 245 rupees, with retail prices between 250 and 255 rupees. According to consumers, Samba prices were over 260 rupees and Kiri Samba was between 280 and 300 rupees. The retail price of white raw stood at 240 rupees in some shops.
හාල් නෑ මිනි. නාඩු නෑ. අනිත් වෙනන් තියෙනවා.
හාල් මිල නම් දැන් දෙන්න වැඩි වෙනවා. අද තියෙන මිල දෙමේ හෙට තියෙන. ඒ හින්දා මේ බිස්නස් එකක් කරගෙන යන්න අමාරුයි.
The Anuradhapura District Restaurant Owners Association expressed these views.
Large-scale rice mill owners in this country admit that rice is being diverted to beer production. They know it's more profitable to use Nadu rice for brewing beer than to sell it at control prices. Even rice producers have admitted this. So when these large rice mill owners openly acknowledge this, why hasn't the government taken any action against it? It's a serious issue.
The Small and Medium Mill Owners Association had this to say.
The government needs to step in and regulate a percentage of rice for animal feed and beer production. If there is no regulation, the system will continue to fall apart. And that's exactly what we are seeing in the market today. The result is that people are suffering. The government needs to act fast and put the people's needs first before anything else.
The National Agrarian Union called for the control prices to increase.
Rice mill associations are saying that the gazette issued during Gotabaya Rajapaksa's time was flawed and it's time to fix it. We can't sell rice at 220 rupees anymore. We need at least 235 rupees per kilogram. They said they paid farmers 130 rupees per kilogram. Where did the big mill owners get rice for 130 rupees? We saw in 2022 when President Ranil Wickremesinghe visited Kidinochi, someone said it was sold at 100 rupees.
The cabinet has already decided to allow the import of rice without import licenses. Accordingly, rice can be imported until the 21st of December, sans an import license. However, Importers of essential food items highlight they are unable to import and offer rice at low rates owing to the levy imposed on it. They also point out that importing and distributing stocks of rice before the 21st of December is a tough task.
What is the government's solution?
Although our farmers produce paddy capable of generating 3 million metric tons of rice, we need another 360,000 metric tons per year for the poultry industry, particularly for eggs. Another portion is needed for beer production. There is a concern over the statistics. Even if we consider it as 20,000, there is an issue. The portion needed for it is somewhat insignificant. Shortly after we decided to import rice, we were faced with a natural disaster. Around 70,000 acres will need to be sown once more, leading to a need to produce more. These factors lead us to believe that a short-term rice shortage might occur. So, during the last cabinet meeting, we decided to remove restrictions on rice imports until midnight on the 21st of December. Rice importers have been granted permission to import rice without calling for tenders in the open market until the 20th. It would lead to rice imports into the country. After the 20th, 10,200 metric tons of rice will enter the country through tenders we issued. A further 41,600 metric tons will be imported thereafter. Through this, we can ease the shortage of rice and make it freely available in the country.
When we took over the reins to the country, government warehouses did not have rice stocks. During the previous Yala season, not a single grain of rice was purchased, not even Nadu. There was a stock purchased earlier. A cost of nearly 130 rupees had been incurred per kilo. The government had sold all of it at 80 rupees, bringing a loss of 50 rupees per kilo. When we took over, there were no paddy stocks owned by the government. The Maha season had started too, and farmers did not have paddy either. This is the problem we had to face.
President Andrukumara Dissanayake met with ITAK parliamentarians today.
Members of Parliament of the Lanka Tamil Arasu Katchi, S. Sridharan, P. Satyalingam, Shanakyan Rasamanikam, G. Srinesan, S. Kugadasan, Kavindran Kodiswaran, Elayathambi Srinath, Thurerasa Ravikaran and others met with President Andrukumara Dissanayake today. During the discussion, attention had been paid towards a new constitution, the issue of political prisoners, the office of missing persons and land-related issues.
Primarily, we discussed about power sharing arrangements, power devolution. We put forward ITAK's proposal for a power sharing mechanism in a merged North and East under a federal structure. We discussed about some development requirements in the North and East, and the President has promised to give the decentralized budget to both the government MPs and MPs from the opposition. So therefore, we have also requested for a special additional fund for MPs from the North and East, since the North and the East was severely affected by the war. And we also discussed with the President about the floods and the current situation in the country and about flood relief, etc. I think this was an initial dialogue with the President. I think we will have further discussions with him in the future, and we will discuss about the issues mentioned in length in the upcoming few months.
The breakaway faction of the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna, which contested under the New Democratic Front, has proposed the name of former Minister Kanchana Wijesekara for the National List parliamentary seat.
A group including Pavitra Vanyarachi, Rohita Pegunavardhana, Pradeep Undugoda, Pramita Bandara Tennakon, Prasanna Ranavira, Janaka Vakumbura and Shantha Bandara met today at the residence of Madhura Vitanage to discuss this matter.
Hirunika Premachandra once again questioned why she is not considered suitable for a national list parliamentary seat.
Whenever a party gets a national list seat, the Election Commission typically sends out a letter encouraging that at least one of those seats should go to a woman. For example, last time the Janata Vimukthi Peramana's nationalist seat was given to a woman, current Prime Minister Harini Amarasuriya. In 2020, when we had our national list, one seat was given to a woman, Diana Gamage. This time we've been allocated 5 seats, and I truly believe that it would be fair to set one aside for a woman. I've already spoken to both the General Secretary and leader Sajith Premadasa about this, and I've asked them to consider me for one of the seats. I think it's a reasonable request.
Newsfirst. Main sponsor.
Generators for long-term rent. Multiways Engineering Private Limited.
A trusted place for your fixed deposit. Valuable FD, a symbol of stability.
Welcome back to the news. The all-share price index of the Colombo Stock Exchange reached an all-time high today.
The all-share price index of the Colombo Stock Exchange has reached an all-time high of 13,511.73 points, marking an increase of 171.69 points. The S&P SL20 stood at 4,016.6 points. The Colombo Stock Exchange reported a trading turnover of 5.2 billion rupees at the close of the session.
The Newsfirst Finance Report.
The National Day of the Kingdom of Thailand was celebrated this morning in Colombo.
The National Day celebration of the Kingdom of Thailand marks the birth anniversary of the late King Bhumibol Adulyadej and Thailand's Father's Day.
Sri Lanka has entered the new chapter of history, and I wish to reaffirm our commitment to working closely with the President Anura Kumara's administration. Thailand and Sri Lanka has enjoyed long-standing and close and cordial relations for nearly 70 years. And indeed, our timeless friendship has been strengthened centuries prior to the establishment of our diplomatic relations in 1955. I am pleased that quite a few significant steps have been made to enhance our bilateral relations on the political front. And importantly, since the 15th of October, the visa requirement for Sri Lankans has been lifted to facilitate more people-to-people visits.
We share a warm friendship nurtured by Theravada Buddhist teachings and unthreatened by strong people-to-people linkage that span many centuries. Since the establishment of formal diplomatic relations since 1955, close to 7 decades ago, we have worked diligently to develop a robust partnership. The areas of cooperation between the two countries have expanded significantly and encompass a wide range of critical areas including trade, investment, agriculture, renewable energy, fisheries, education and tourism. Sri Lanka and Thailand will celebrate the 70th anniversary of the establishment of diplomatic relations next year, 2025. We hope to unveil a series of events to celebrate the unique friendship throughout the course of 2025. We reframe our commitment to explore new avenues for expanding our economic partnership. Our two countries work closely in multilateral fora to promote a stronger community in the Asia-Pacific region. Sri Lanka and Thailand are united in our commitment to addressing global challenges, including climate changes and environmental sustainability.
Cinnamon Hotels and Resorts, in partnership with the Swiss Hotel Management Academy, officially launched the Cinnamon Hospitality Academy today.
The Cinnamon Hospitality Academy introduced the prestigious vocational education and training diploma program, offering world-class hospitality training for the first time in Sri Lanka, welcoming its first group of 43 students.
As all of you know, hospitality and tourism in Sri Lanka went through a lot of tough years. Just now, over the last couple of years, we're seeing some light at the end of the tunnel. Our tourism numbers are improving. This year, hopefully, ending with 2 million arrivals to the country. Tourism is a big and key industry for the country, not only for Cinnamon, but for the country.
This collaboration exemplifies how partnerships build strong economies. Sri Lanka, with its rich heritage and talent, will benefit immensely from adopting elements of this model, I'm convinced. It will bring new learning opportunities for Sri Lankan youth, providing them with a path to a successful future. It will also benefit tourism and the hospitality industry with a workforce that can provide excellent services. The hospitality industry in Sri Lanka has a huge potential, as we heard.
And that's a wrap of Primetime News for tonight.
Thank you for joining us.
Good night.